back, Taffers. I'm Bubba1, and today I'm reviewing Thief: Deadly Shadows, also known as Thief 3. Yeah, there's like no colon between Thief and Deadly Shadows. This is going to be loaded with spoilers, so be forewarned. And let's take a look at the story we are told in this game. Thief: Deadly Shadows opens with Garrett doing what he does best, stealing for himself and paying his landlord.
So this is what they all wanted. Well, it's better off with me.
That changes when Artemis, one of the few keepers who doesn't openly despise him,
I don't like being followed.
Sends him to steal two powerful artifacts.
Well, that's keeper talk for something bad has happened and now we want your help.
A chalice from the Hammerites and the Jacknose Paw from the Pagans.
The Jacknose Paw.
And no, nobody really seems to know what a Jacknose Paw is. After delivering them, Garrett tries to get ahead of the keepers by stealing a forbidden book called the Compendium of Reproach, which is a cryptic prophecy that says will identify the brethren and betrayer. After searching a zombie-infested ship, the book turns out to be hidden in the ship's captain's mansion.
That's got to be the compendium.
Garrett returns it to the keeper's hidden library, only to learn it can't be opened without a magical glyph key. To get it, Garrett ventures into an underground civilization and retrieves both the key and an ancient crown. With the compendium finally open, the keepers learn that the brethren and betrayer will be revealed when time itself stops.
This passage here speaks to us now. Very powerful. Savor temporalis nundame. Cor malus.
When the progress of time ceases, the one will be appointed.
No. Cor malus reportorta invisitabulum.
The evil ones will be pointed out for all to see.
When the progress of time ceases? What could it mean?
We must wait and watch. The meaning of the prophecy will become clear in time.
Wait, after I found your precious book? No. When time stops, the evil will be pointed out, or whatever she said. Don't you want to know what we're up against?
What would you do? Stop time with your bare hands? You cannot make the prophecies come to pass, Thief. It is folly to think so.
You can't, but maybe I can. I could break into the clock tower in Stone Market, find some way to stop the clock from running.
Perhaps the Stone Market clock could be considered a symbol of time. But if you are suggesting sabotage, you would accomplish nothing, except further enraging the Hammerites.
With Katika so close to discovering the brethren and betrayer, Garrett.
I'm not going to sit around doing nothing. That's your job.
Fool! I forbid you to go to the clock tower or to interfere with the prophecy in any way.
You forget. I don't take orders from you.
Refusing to wait for an apocalypse, Garrett sabotages the city's clock tower, causing it to collapse and its pointed tower aimed right at the Keeper's library headquarters. Soon after, the Keeper's interpreter Katika is murdered, and Garrett is blamed. Declared guilty in a sham trial by First Keeper Orland, he flees as the Keepers unleash deadly enforcers to hunt him through the city.
Interpreter Katika. Katika? Keeper Orland, Katika is dead, murdered. I went to bring her the copy of Moran she requested, but then her door was open. She never leaves it open. I looked in and...
Garrett has killed Interpreter Katika, you say?
Seize him and bring him to the council room. This is the only murder in our ranks since these halls were founded by the first of our ancestors.
But Garrett had no reason to kill Katika. Has he not walked in line with the prophecies before? We must consider the implications. If that prophecy refers to one of...
The clock tower is irrelevant. The matter at hand is murder, done by one who we accepted as our guest and brother. proceedings are highly irregular. I have heard enough! Garrett, have you anything to say before sentence is passed?
You haven't listened to anyone else yet, Orland. Why start now?
Silence! You are declared guilty of Interpreter Katika's murder. Your punishment will be determined by the Council. Now remove him! I regret to inform you that Garrett has escaped. Very good. Call together the Keeper Enforcers. They will track him down and erase our problem.
Sneaking back into Keeper headquarters, Garrett investigates Katika's death and uncovers a trap set by a powerful glyph-using hag.
Terminus animus, take the power, the glyphs, the bindings, live, walk, talk, and obey! Yes, my will, my desires. Terminus animus, awake! Garrett is here among you somewhere. Seek, fetch, find him out.
That trail leads to the Shale Bridge Cradle, a long-abandoned asylum-turned-orphanage, now haunted by its past.
She looks familiar. It's that Keeper translator girl. But that can't be. This portrait must be as old as the building.
I can hear you breathing.
There, Garrett finds the ghost of Gamal, Katika's former assistant, and he helps her into the afterlife, while the Gamal impersonator is forced to reveal herself as the very hag manipulating events in the midst of the Keepers. She escapes in a freakish, monstrous form.
Let the Book of Names record that on this day did Translator Gamal take the name of Interpreter Gamal and begin to read the prophecies. Let her eyes open to read and to see. Let her tongue speak the words of the glyphs.
I shall see the unseen. I shall speak the truth.
Interpreter Gamal, what's wrong?
Oh, look. No.
Curse her stinking, rotting bones! You think you can snare me, trap me with your secrets? I am secret, kept for decades. You scratch out glyphs and think you have them, but I wear them, drink them, breathe them, know them far better than you.
Rejoining the Shaken Keepers, Garrett learns the chalice and the Jacknal's paw have been stolen. He tracks Gamal to her lair, recovers the artifacts.
How many times am I going to steal this thing?
And is reunited with Artemis.
I thought I told you. I don't like being followed.
Our separate paths have converged, Garrett.
We both seek the same thing.
And reveals Gamal's true plan, using 5 ancient artifacts to destroy the final glyph, a glyph that would end magic entirely. Garrett steals the remaining artifacts from the museum, including the crown, the heart, and the eye. Yes, that eye.
Comes a man to rescue me. Poor man.
When he returns to Artemis in Orland, the truth about Artemis is revealed. He is dead, and his body was being used by Gamal to get all of the artifacts. Gamal kills first Keeper Orland.
Yes. Thinking too clever, but still one step behind.
And Garrett races through the city, placing the artifacts and activating the final glyph himself.
Does something useful. If I never see another glyph again, it'll be too soon.
Magic vanishes. Gamal becomes a frail old woman.
So old. All ruined.
The Keeper's hidden knowledge disappears, their headquarters is exposed, and the Order
What will
collapses.
become of the city without us?
The game ends quietly. Garrett catches a young girl trying to pick his pocket, and repeats the same words Artemis once told him when he was a child on the street, closing the loop on the cycle that shaped his life.
You have talent. It's no easy thing to see a keeper. Especially one who does not wish to be seen.
So yeah, that's a lot. Secret orders, ancient prophecies, undead librarians, and an orphanage that should absolutely be condemned by every city authority. But once you get past the lore, what actually matters is how all this feels to play. And Deadly Shadows is a weird mix of brilliance, frustration, and ideas that were maybe a little ahead of their time. If you play the series in order, you might be shell-shocked at all of the changes. A few things stay the same, like Stephen Russell's amazing voicing of Garrett.
I thought I told you I don't like being followed.
But a lot of other things are very different. The first is the sword. It's been replaced with a dagger, which, okay, kind of makes sense that a sneaky thief wouldn't be carrying a large sword around on his back, but it does remove some of the medieval vibe of the first game. Rope and vine arrows are gone. It was my understanding at the time that the game engine wasn't able to pull off that kind of physics. Invisibility potions are gone. Slow fall potions gone. Garrett's cloak. In all cutscenes in the first 2 games, Garrett is wearing a cloak. In Deadly Shadows, the game engine couldn't make that happen. Although in some cutscenes, he's still wearing one. Some additions to this chapter in the series. We get a third-person camera, which also reveals a cloakless Garrett. So I didn't use it very often. I stuck to first person. Wall climbing gloves, and I guess that was to make up for not having rope arrows. Oil flasks, which can be used to make NPCs fall down, or you can set them on fire. I rarely use those. Gas bombs. I use these a lot, since gas arrows seem to be nerfed. But the gas bombs were way easier to use and worked against multiple enemies at once, which is what I wanted anyway. And then wall hugging is new. Garrett can flatten himself against a wall to become harder to see, and this is usually the only time that I would turn on the third-person camera. Some other changes between Thief 2 and Thief 3. The blackjack is kind of nerfed. You have to hit directly behind. You cannot hit somebody from the side, and you have to be very close. Although it gets an upgrade later in the story to destroy statues. There is holy water in the game, but it's not used on water arrows. It's now a throwable object. It's best if you throw it on the floor, where it persists for a small amount of time, like maybe 20 seconds or something like that. The zombies. Zombies are the faster variety now. And lockpicking now has a visual component, which I'll be honest, I didn't like it at first, but I'm fine with it now. And then the last of the changes is the maps are back to being nearly useless, just like they were in the first Thief game. And this, again, is a product of the game engine. I've made several mentions of the game engine. For those unfamiliar with video game construction, think of video games like cars. The engine doesn't decide what the car looks like, it decides how it drives. The first two Thief games were built on the Dark engine, which was an in-house custom-built car designed for slow, precise stealth. Deadly Shadows switched to the Unreal 2 engine made by Epic Games, which is a more modern, flexible engine, but one made for a very different kind of driving. It can be made to appear how the buyer wants, like a paint job, but mainly it handles differently, and you feel that difference every time you sneak, lean, or move through the world. The game is divided into days, which is new, and each day usually ends with a mission. During the day, you can navigate the city, avoiding the City Watch, hammers, and the pagans, and visit different fences to sell your stolen loot. Some only take art, some only take jewelry, some only take paintings. Okay, maybe art and paintings are the same thing.
Let me get a look at you.
You can visit different black market shops to buy moss arrows. A different one sells fire arrows, and so on. Also, the more people you knock out, assault, or kill during the day, the more City Watch officers will be out on the streets the next day. And even knockout numbers, pickpockets, and murders in the city are posted each day outside in the streets. The fences and shops are in different parts of the city, and more of the city unlocks with the story. After the first 3 or 4 missions, the Factions tab activates, allowing you to do favors for the hammers or the pagans. Doing enough favors makes them allies, which translates into will not kill you on sight most of the time. You're also crazy not to make them both allies, so both factions will leave you alone, and you can use their bases as safe havens and healing stations. In the last day or two of the story, the city streets turn into absolute chaos, with everyone attacking everybody and the factions fighting each other. But they will leave you alone, usually. It's pretty cool, and it makes the city feel alive. Well, let's hit the pros and cons of the game, and let's start with the cons. That way we can end with the positives. Number 1. The game and its cousin-in-law, Deus Ex Invisible War, are both victims of what was the ever-growing PC console wars. Both of these games were developed for the OG Xbox and then ported for PC. The problem, and thus gasoline on the fire of PC versus console, was the OG Xbox didn't have the memory or computing ability to run a game in 2004 like Thief Deadly Shadows, except in small chunks. And, really, to be fair, most PCs were not much farther along than the Xbox was. So not only is the city divided into chunks that pause gameplay while it loads, missions are also chunked with multiple loading zones, which not only removes the immersive experience but can also be quite disorientating. Imagine playing Skyrim, and every 200 yards the game cuts away to a load screen, and you get the idea. The constant loading is far and away the biggest complaint about the game. However, the Sneaky Tweaker mod removes the load screens within the missions, which is great. 2. The hatred of the load screens are followed by the lack of cutscene intro movies into each mission. Instead, the player is treated to pages of text you can read along with Garrett. Seriously, it's a read-along.
And a nasty reputation.
Again, Sneaky Tweaker includes fan-made intro cutscenes created from screenshots, and it's 1,000 times better than the read-along.
one of the oldest so-called great families.
My third con is Garrett is cloakless. I can't blame the developers too much for this. It just wasn't feasible for the Unreal 2 engine at that time. We were excited when they said we would be able to finally see Garrett in third person, but disappointment followed quickly when we got the first images of him with no cloak. Con number 6, the loot. There's plenty of it, and now it glistens. Well, most of it does. This should have been an improvement. The loot gives off a glistening wink to let you know it's worth something. Instead, it happens so infrequently, I usually missed it. Or the loot was so tiny, I didn't see it. Or sometimes, it doesn't glisten at all. Also, random paintings are loot as well. And you have to check them all, because more than one painting does not glisten. And for some reason, objects turn bright blue when you frob them, including loot. At first, I didn't like the blue at all. Sneaky Tweaker gives the option to make it glow a brownish color, but then it's hard to see. So I went back to blue. Back in my day, modders quickly made a mod where you could choose the color of the frob, and I remember choosing a light gray, which kind of made it look like the gamma on the objects turned up, but there is no such option today. Con number 7, how many underground societies do we really need? How does the city above ground not cave in all these underground lost cities? We visited one in the first game, we returned to it in the second game and it was expanded, and now there is another completely different city right under the streets, with fish monsters living in it that look like the creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, I'll be honest, most of my cons are minor or they're petty, which is a good thing, because that means I have a lot of pros and that I actually like the game. Here's a few. The details and the models look so good compared to the previous games with their low poly objects and NPCs. I'll be honest though, sometimes in the rendered cutscenes, zoom-ins on the NPC faces often look awkward.
What's wrong with you?
The second pro is the story is so good. In the first game, Garrett butts heads with the hammers, but in the end takes down the deity the pagans worship. In the second game, Garrett butts heads with the City Watch and takes down the hammer heretic leader Karis. Say that 5 times real fast. Now in this game, the threat not only comes from the Keepers, in a way, it is the Keepers themselves. More on this idea later. Another pro is exploring the city is now an option, and it's a great idea in between missions. And visiting different fences and cellars also made it interesting. Plus the inclusion of factions between hammers and pagans during the city explorations was also a very, very cool idea. Another pro that I liked was NPCs battling NPCs. This always makes a place feel alive, and seeing this happening near the end was just epic. And another pro was the atmosphere. I mean, you can't talk about this game and not talk about the atmosphere. The ambient sounds and the music in each level, they draw you in, and you feel like you are there until you hit a load screen. But again, thank you, Sneaky Tweaker, for removing those within the missions. Another pro was the eye, of all things to make a reappearance. That evil, insulting eye. Back all the way from the first game. Still taunting you.
Things with it. Someday I might come looking for the other one.
And then my last pro, and I'm sure you've been waiting for it, the mission that is the king of atmosphere, the Shale Bridge Cradle. Can any review of this game not mention this level? Of course not. It is creepy, terrifying, and so warped and twisted, full of eerie sound effects and music, haunting images, both physical and mental. Definitely a core memory-making experience every time you play it. It may be the cause of a sleepless night. So in all, this is an excellent game with some pretty big flaws. The graphics are a massive improvement, but jarring if you're playing the series one game after the other. Some flaws have been fixed by devoted fans, but others are unfixable. In the end, for me, it usually comes down to the story. Thief Deadly Shadows not only delivers an excellent story...
Silence!
It was clearly meant to end the series with a bow.
You have talent. It's no easy thing to see a keeper.
Yes, I know about Thief 2014. Also, I will admit that while playing it through this time might have been the most enjoyable experience I've had with this game, and I will probably view it more highly in the future. But there is even another layer to this game if you think about it hard enough. Earlier I mentioned that the villains might also be the keepers themselves.
A noise?
Deadly Shadows tells a story about systems that outlive their usefulness, and the desire of individuals and groups to remain relevant.
What will we do? What will become of the city without us?
A message in 2004 that still echoes in the present and will continue to do so in the future. Thanks for joining me on this review of a great game. Go and have some fun, and I'll catch you next time.